Well, it's been a long time since I did one of these. Honestly, I've been waiting for enough information on new figures to come out, but Hasbro seems to have gotten pretty tight-lipped all of a sudden. Everyone else has gotten pretty quiet too. Not a lot of information on the third-party scene as well. And, well, people have been desperate to hear my thoughts on a few figures for a long time now. And what with the lack of information, unless I wanted to make a whole video dedicated to the one or two things people wanted to hear my thoughts on, which are boring, might I add you, my thoughts on the things people have been trying to get me to talk about are very boring. So in order to do this video, while I usually try to keep third-party and Hasbro news in separate contained videos, this time, in order to finally talk to you about your burning questions, I'm mashing these two categories together. So welcome to a grab bag of unreleased Transformers figures. We finally have official photos of Waspinator after forever. But the only one I'm really interested in is the one of him in his box. Look at how haphazardly he's tied down in there. I swear they only secured his left side. Then I just wanted to call out the fact that Mastermind Creations is reissuing a huge slew of their figures. It's most of their catalog that they are putting out there again. So if you ever wanted the MMC Assaultus, the best combiner of all time, it's mostly already up with only the Brawl on pre-order. If you are the guy who asked me how to get the upgrade kit for the MMC Assaultus, that's on pre-order too. Optus Pexus is there, the DJD are coming back into stock, Chrome Dome and Rewind, Ravage, Mirage, figure after figure you may want are coming back into stock. And I don't know about you, but I'm excited. I also wanted to bring to your attention the fact that not only did Wei Jiang apparently survive the Chinese government arresting like half of their employees and seizing almost all of their stuff, but they are producing the Mega Master again. It's oversized, but I'd still argue that it's the best third-party Megatron on the market. And yet despite it being Wei Jiang, it's a third-party figure, not a KO. Then there's the Road Ranger and Puffer box set. What a terrible name for a product no one is going to buy. I always want to see more toy-only characters, and even I look at this and go, no. A box containing two excessively light retools of the same figure, all that's different is that they don't have Huffer's face, and while yes, that's an improvement, is that supposed to make me want it twice? And oh, the terrible names. Road Ranger sounds like a GoBot, it just lacks pizzazz, and Puffer sounds like a third-party or KO Huffer. Hasbro is making knockoffs of their own figures and labeling them appropriately. Can't help but notice that they still aren't showing the alt modes from profile. It's almost like they know how bad the figures look, and they are trying to avoid letting you see that. Is this like the laziest box set Hasbro has ever done? The Seekers have an inbuilt pass on being lazy. The people want flat recolors of those. This is just the same thing again, with heads that were only barely altered to remove all the features and make them even less effort to produce. Are Hasbro just out of ideas? Then let's talk about vaguely Asian Spike. I honestly might have been interested in this in some way if Spike didn't look like a K-pop idol. He's not even an average-looking Asian guy. That's not the face of a guy who works on an oil rig. Those look like the severed hands of someone who did, though. Ugh. I don't know about you, but I never imagined Spike as being pretty. Deformation Space has already announced their Thundercracker and Skywarps. I mean, that was expected, but fast. I think they wanted to strike before they were ready, while people were still thinking about them, considering that their Thundercracker at least looks to be a Digibash. This might be the first time I've run into a Starscream that I felt was good enough to get the whole squad for. People are hoping they do a set of the Coneheads off this mold, but I don't see that happening unless they pull an extreme retool on it. The transformation is just not designed to work with them. Not only can the head not stand to be any longer than it already is, since it ends up as deep in the body as it can go currently, they are also too wide. There's no way to compress them like you can with the normal Seeker's side vents, so the Coneheads just won't fit in 2 out of 3 dimensions. Matrix Workshop is currently making an axe for the Siege and Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime. It comes with staff pieces so you can turn it into a traditional axe, or you can plug it into his hand like in the show, but I have to ask, why the fuck is it not pegged all the way into his hand in this picture? Did the photographers seriously get so lazy they couldn't be bothered to press that part all the way down? We also have good pictures of Slammer now, though these are not official. Weaponizers live again. For some people, that's cause to celebrate. For others, it's a great sin against the franchise. First up, I have to say, I think that this is the weirdest ankle articulation I've ever seen. He looks like he took some kind of grievous foot injury, not like that's actually supposed to happen. The cloven hooves are just a weird choice in general. The good news is they have a case of totally real hand syndrome. You might think that it's weird to celebrate that, but usually when a figure has a peg sticking off the front of its fists like that, it tends to not have hands. Just look at Ironworks. Why is he made out of mostly gray plastic, but his arms, head, and crotch are all white? It just makes those parts look out of place. I will probably pick this up. As much as I hate parts forming, I do have some fondness for the weaponizers nonetheless. Now we have this new Megatron coming out by some absolute nobody called Megatank, who seems to be an interpretation of what he would have looked like if he was from the Bumblebee movie. Seems like they've made a pretty reasonable assumption as to what that would look like, and this is the kind of thing I'd love to see in a live-action movie. And it's incredible looking. Look at that paint job! Jesus Christ! You know me, I'm not much one for paint, but if this comes out and it actually looks like this, it will probably have one of, if not the, best Transformers paint jobs of all time. The whole thing looks like it's made out of real metal, it's covered in accents, and the posing doesn't seem to be anything to sneeze at either. It's got maximum knees and an ab crunch for sure. Seems like no butterfly in either direction, but this is still looking well beyond the average. The level of quality on this thing looks like it's one of 3A's non-transforming figures. But this does transform. I mean, the transformation looks like it's probably incredibly basic, but it does do it. Does the tank remind anyone else of a metal slug? I love it. And based on this picture here, where it stood next to the Wei-Jang Optimus Prime, this thing is going to be massive! The Wei-Jang Optimus Prime is already huge! This Megatron is probably going to be twice the size of the Masterpiece Optimus Prime, like any version of him. And all this, the huge figure, the great posing, the insane paint job, and it's going to be $200. Anyone want to try to argue that third party has higher margins than Hasbro so they can afford to make the figures better right now? I didn't think so. Then we have Golden Disc Mutant Tigatron. This is a weird figure. I can't tell if it's based on the original prototype Tigatron figures that were this color, or if this is based on the box art for the character. To be fair, I think the box art for Tigatron was probably based on the prototype, so is that really different? This seems a little lazy. I mean, they are taking Tigatron, a figure who itself is already purported to be a retool of the Kingdom Cheetor, which, I mean, fair enough, but this is very different, and they are just casting it in orange, and then they are giving it the head off the Shadow Panther, which is coming out in Wave 4 of Kingdom, but it's in like a teal or oxidized copper-looking color. This is a weird reference to a deep-cut bit of fan trivia, and I'm actually kind of into it. It's weird, it's kind of pointless, but I might be picking this one up. Now on to the Optus Pexus Evil version, or Nemesis Pexus. The hands on this guy are a weird bony looking color, and I kinda like that. Makes them look kind of skeletal to me. Really helps drive home that this is the evil Halloween version. But we do know how these hands function, so I love how they are giving him this weird Matrix sword, but in all the pictures of him posed dynamically with it, they are desperately trying to not show him swinging it. A sword for a figure that doesn't have sword-wielding wrists is kind of pointless. This does seem to be coming with more accessories than the previous version, because not only does he have the sword, but the silly little cloth cape, and he does even come with a new head. And I have one question about these heads. Did they just not bother to dust the figure before taking all these pictures? I mean, come on, these are close-ups, you gotta clean that crap off. Honestly, this is an alternate head that the normal Optus Pexus should have come with. It does fit this guy surprisingly well, considering this is not supposed to be the evil damaged face, but the yelling about the injustices of the world face. I wonder if they are going to include a blue version of this head in the box with this as DLC for the normal figure. I don't think I'll be picking this up myself. It's kind of tempting, it does look good, but I don't know that I need a Nemesis Prime version of every Optimus. Let's finally get to the one thing that you guys have been desperate to hear my thoughts about for a while now. HasLab's Starsaber. And my thoughts about this thing are, I don't care. I told you it was going to be boring. I don't care. I don't care about this fucking thing. I fucking hate Starsaber and his stupid little catchphrase. The only version of this character I have any affinity for is the evil version from IDW. No way in hell am I buying this. No way in hell am I paying significantly more than the actual masterpiece for this in Hasbro's weird little crowdfunding scheme for this stupid thing. And then he comes with Victory Leo, and I loathe this thing. I hate every little aspect of this guy, from the way too long head to the stupid fucking little horns. I hate the fact that this thing can't pick a single thing it wants to be. It's got beast parts, and jet wings, and minigun hips, and it's just the most gaudy thing on the planet. And based on the pictures, I'm guessing this thing is going to be a complete train wreck when people get it in hand. I mean, look at these gaps! And they're doing this whole stupid crowdfunding thing where they have to get a ridiculous number of backers to unlock stupid bullshit add-on pieces like a gun and a stand. I hear that the last unrevealed one is going to be his shield, which disappoints me because I had money riding on it being a crappy minifigure of Jan Minikaze. I already wouldn't be interested in this thing if it weren't basically $200. This thing is going to cost more than Titan figures, and they are still putting accessories behind backer walls. God, I hate Victory Leo's stupid fucking head, like, keeps me up at night hate. And now I've got to throw in some addendum segments because as I was about to record this, stuff got announced. Golden Disc Pterosaur. We heard that this was going to be a retool of the Air Razor, and that seems to be the case. I guess the whole Golden Disc line is just retools for some reason. And man, I can't help but be extremely disappointed in what I'm seeing here. His colors aren't working, he's too skinny, he doesn't have his shoulder cannons, his wings aren't compressing as much as the Air Razors he's based on, which is a problem considering he's not supposed to have any wings at all, and I get that that would be impossible to do, but this looks like it's not even doing as good a job as the base mold. And have I mentioned it faux forms? The alt mode sucks, and the chest is not the butt of the bird, it's fake. Unlike the Air Razor, who had the bird head come out of the same spot her robot head did, Pterosaur's head is mounted above that on its back, meaning that he's got an entire robot just curled up underneath him. So his robot mode is much less a part of his alt mode than Air Razor's was. And it's engaging in pointless faux forming when the original didn't. This is so much worse than the mold it's based on. And while the head is not the abomination some other figures have like Rhinox, it's very much not at all accurate to the show. The most accurate thing about this guy is his feet. They fucked up every detail, and it's not just on the accuracy front, but on the quality and value aspect as well. And why are the golden disc boxes all the most lazy designs imaginable? The gun's okay, and in this render, everything looks way better. His face looks a lot more appropriate, and the colors are much nicer. Too bad that's not how this thing ended up looking in reality. I wanted to want this thing so bad, but I feel like this thing was probably designed by the guy who made the Kingdom Rhinox. This custom figure made out of an air razor is unbelievably better. People can make a higher quality, better looking pterosaur out of the same figure that Hasbro is. That's so sad. Finally, to end on a positive note, Transarts is releasing a Transmetal 1 Megatron, and hell yes! It looks great. The hands look a lot better than on Primal. Seems like this is probably going to come with some blast effects, and considering their last ones, these will also probably be compatible with Siege ports. The neck of the Dino mode seems a little weird though. It's probably something that needed to be done for either the transformation or articulation, and it results in it not looking all that good, but it's not terrible, I can accept this. Otherwise, this T-Rex looks fantastic, and I can't wait to get my hands on this purple chromed boy. And that's not half of what I have to say, but it's enough of what I have to say. And I know you know what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.